Thanks for being here for this session. I wanted to just talk briefly about the mini grant program itself. So I'm just going to share a slide with you all. We have a mini grant program that's been going on for the last few years at Western. And let me show you my slide here instead of just seeing the picture of it here. Are you all seeing my slide? Okay. So I'm just going to share briefly what this program is. I think it's a great way for us to be able to support assessment efforts across campus at Western. We used to have a larger grant program, what's called Assessment Fellows Grants. But as you can imagine, if you're not from Western, and I think most institutions are going through things like this right now with budget cuts and budget reductions and that kind of thing. We're still going strong and doing what we can. And I think what we've tried to do is to just continue to provide support from the Office of Institutional Effectiveness for assessment work because we know the importance of it. We want to make sure that people who are interested in starting an assessment project, continuing their assessment work, that they have some support through our Office of Institutional Effectiveness. And so our assessment fellow grants we had previously were a little larger amounts, but we decided to go with a mini grant. And what we've done is given small amounts for a shorter time frame for people to work on a project, and maybe having that smaller chunk of time and then the smaller scope of the project, we thought might be a better way for people to get involved with assessment right now anyway, because we all do have a lot going on. Some people wear more than one hat. So I think we thought this would be a good approach. And so we had some great projects that were submitted for proposals in 2021, and we awarded 7 mini grants. And so today we have 3 of those groups in this session to share about their projects. It is an annual program, and proposals are submitted to our University Assessment Steering Committee and evaluated based on our request for proposal criteria that we have. Basically, we're just looking for people's projects that would focus on assessment and using data for improvement. It can be varied as far as what the projects, and you'll see that from the participants today, starting an assessment plan, creating a measure, maybe even just thinking about a curriculum map or revamping what's already been going on with assessment. So a lot of different ways that the funding can be used. And it's, like it says here in the purpose, a means to move forward on the assessment cycle, to just help people to advance wherever they're at and hopefully spark them to do continuous improvement and to be able to have the ability to start something where maybe they needed to have a jump start as far as support, or maybe even just dedication to doing something because it's part of a project like the grants. And I have the website here referenced, wmh.edu/assessment/grants. That's our assessment website where the grants and our request for proposal document is featured there, so you can take a look at that. I haven't posted the grant winners recipients actually from this year yet. We have, I think, 10 different mini grants that were awarded, and so we'll be seeing some other great projects coming through. And if you haven't had a chance to yet, there's also this link to the mini grant project site, which is part of the site for the overall conference, but our recipients from last year graciously participated in interviews with some folks from WMUX. They interviewed and put some video clips onto that website, and I posted the entire website there, but it was shared with you all in the program and registered attendee email. So take a peek at those videos. I think it will be great for you to just learn about, where our recipients are from, what their project work was, and they're brief, 10 minutes or less, but I think it was a really nice way for them to be able to share and talk about their projects and what they're doing. So please take a look at those. So I'm excited to hear from all our panelists. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And what I plan to do is just have our recipients share about their projects, and we'll start and just we'll go in alphabetical order. So Katie Easley and her colleague Kourtney Bakalyar worked on a project. Kourtney's not able to join us today. She wasn't feeling well, so sorry to hear about that. But what we'll do is I'll have Katie share, and then our other 2 grant recipients, Janet Hahn and Megan Slayter, will talk about their projects, and then As we're going, if you have questions, please submit those in the chat. And then we'll take your questions and we can have a conversation. I think this will be a nice way for us to just collaborate. We can learn from one another, and maybe even our recipients and myself will ask questions of those who are attendees. So thanks, Katie. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Karen. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can see that. Yeah, okay, good. I've got like my notes on one slide and your pictures on another slide, and then the slides on another slide. So like Karen said, my partner in this project was Kourtney, and she's unable to be here today. So I will try to answer all of the questions, but also if anyone wants to contact her directly, I'm sure she would welcome any sort of outreach via email or phone call. So the project that we did was the Student Needs Assessment Tool, and a little bit about ourselves. So I'm the Director of Student Success Services, and that is part of the newly formed University College, which is named Merze Tate College. And we have 5 in my department. We have 5 student success programs that all aim to support students in their academic journey. And I'm also the WMU lead for Gateways to Completion. And we have a lot of other student programs in Merze Tate College outside of my department. And Kourtney is the coordinator of the Autism Services Center, which provides supports to WMU students who identify with having autism and other disabilities. And it's actually part of the Department of Psychology, but they work in very close coordination with disability services for students. And the Autism Services Center program has grown from just serving a handful of students to over 40 students for this coming year. So Kourtney and I decided to apply for the Assessment Mini Grant program. Originally, Kourtney saw it and thought it could be a way to start formalizing some of the work that she had in mind to create a tool that would collect information on our students' needs. And someone, I don't know who, recommended that she reach out to me because that recommender thought that she and I were doing common things with our programs. So we hardly knew each other at all, and we had a meeting and started talking about the work that we do with our students and how we were currently assessing our students' needs. And when we came together, we saw, wow, this is an amazing opportunity for us to collaborate. I have had assessment mini grants in the past and didn't really have this one on my radar. You know, I was working from home. It was during the pandemic, kind of height of the pandemic. But as soon as Kourtney brought it to me, I was very excited because I saw her as a very good partner. And of course, I do believe that assessment is critical to the work that we do in our department, and I never miss a chance to work on an assessment cycle to try to improve what we're doing. I think I said most of this, so I'll go ahead and go on. So our purpose was to develop an electronic or online tool that would assess the unique needs of the students that we are working in our programs and potentially beyond our programs to other programs at the university. And we wanted to make something standardized that could be used by multiple programs and that would reduce the time that students have to spend taking assessments and increase the effectiveness of intake meetings. So in both of the programs that Kourtney and I oversee, we have a first meeting where the staff member, not always me or Kourtney, but it could be our staff that work for us or even student staff, where they meet up with a student And before we can properly customize the experience to make sure we're meeting their holistic needs, we need to know what those needs are. Who are they? What are their strengths? What are their challenges? What barriers are they facing? What things do they feel like they need support on? So that was really what motivated our work to try to better serve our students by having a better assessment tool up at the front during the initial meeting. And we worked over the course of, I don't know, 6 or 8 months on this project. And we also had a graduate student assisting us with this work. And we ended up developing a 45 question survey. And the questions on the survey covered a wide range of different needs: academic, social, emotional, physical, employment and career, financial well-being, because both Kourtney and I recognize that in order for students to thrive and succeed in their academic journeys, they need to have their basic needs met in all of these areas. So if a student is struggling financially, it will become challenging for them to continue their studies at Western, or if they're studying with their mental health. So even though our programs might be aimed at certain pieces of this, we recognize the importance of identifying holistic needs. And we ended up using a Google form for our assessment tool. And we did also draft it on Qualtrics. And at the end of our project, we basically came to the conclusion that neither of these was really ideal. So I can talk a little bit more about that. The impact of our work, we were able to identify gaps in the current assessment tools that we've been using and the technology. And we have identified a future tool potentially with our Salesforce implementation that we're having at Western that might be more appropriate for this project. And so we're looking forward to doing that potentially down the road. We wanted the tool to be able to be customized or individualized for different student programs. So our original idea was, let's say the TRIO program wants to use the same assessment that they could, but they could easily customize the tool to ask the questions that they need to ask for their department, which might be slightly different than the questions Kourtney might ask or slightly different than the questions I might ask. And the technology that we were using didn't really allow for that level of easy customization. But we did identify the gaps in the assessment tools, and we increased the synergy between our two offices. And we do believe that it provided a starting point, and like I said, has informed the work that we're doing going forward with Salesforce. And this is my last slide here. In reflection, or maybe there's one more. I think this is the last one. In reflection, both of us really came away with this increased belief that collaboration and communication is necessary to have the strength we need to share our experience, our expertise, and to move forward with our work. Operating in silos is not an effective way of doing things like this. It's not going to serve the students best, and it's not going to be a good experience for us on the staff. We get so busy and so wrapped up working on our own work in our own department that we rarely get chances to really have conversations like Kourtney and I did. So I think it really reinvigorated both of us to try to collaborate more and be intentional about starting up conversations with others across campus who are like-minded and working toward the same goal. So in the end, we had no regrets. And we do recommend working with a partner if possible, if you choose to apply for a future mini grant, and to choose an appropriate scope and sequence. This project had a fairly short timeline and a fairly small budget. It is a mini grant. It's not a big $1 million NSF grant. So you have to keep that in mind when you're planning. What we had set out was pretty aspirational, and we weren't able to get as far as we had originally hoped during the time of the mini grant, but we're continuing the work anyhow after the grant has ended. So I'll go ahead and stop my sharing and come back.
Thanks, Jada. Thanks so much. That was great. I didn't think about, I knew that you both were from different areas, so it's great to hear about how that collaborative effort happened. And I think that's one of the things that I've seen just from your work with the Great Ways to Completion panel too. There's just so much that you're doing to help to cross those barriers and to break down those silos. And I think it's great that you're able to share that with us so that we can hear about some ways that that's happening and it can work, because I think that it's important for us all to be able to share data and to be able to think about how we can create a tool that's helpful for us. But then I love that you're thinking about how it could be used in other areas. I think that's amazing. So thank you for sharing about the project with us. And I like to see, I also wanted to add too, you were talking about the shortness of the grant. And when we first did this last year, it was, okay, so we're in the middle of the pandemic and we have the short time frame where we have some funds that we want to be able to share with people. So how do we do this? So we implemented something very quickly. There was like 3 or 4 months that people had to use the funding before the end of our fiscal year. So that wasn't the best scenario that we would have chosen, but and it was a similar thing this year, but we have a few extra months. But I think going forward, now that things are settling with funding at the institution, we're going to be able to provide a longer time frame. So maybe like the full academic year or closer to that, so people won't feel as rushed and maybe be able to do more with the projects. But with what you had, I think everyone did amazing. So it sounded like, I know you said you're ambitious, overly ambitious, but I think you accomplished a lot. And I think I'm excited to see like how it continues through Salesforce, if that's the way you develop the tool for others to be able to use it and that kind of thing. So thank you. So we can go ahead and we'll have Janet Hahn, who is our next recipient, share about her project. And thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Hello. I will get my slides started.
Can see them.
I'm trying to get into slideshow mode. There we go. I'm already planning to apply for another mini grant in 2023. So, my presentation is very much about learning assessment. Speaking of silos, I did not realize the word assessment was used so much in student affairs. I have a background in evaluation, and I was thinking, isn't that evaluation? But we're not here to talk about words. But I'm glad the assessment of programs and the effectiveness of programs is so important in all areas of a university. But in my role, I'm focused on learning assessment. I am the coordinator or program director for our Healthcare Services and Sciences bachelor's degree, which is the largest enrollment in our College of Health and Human Services. A lot of students are interested in this major. I'll tell you a little bit about that and certainly a little bit about the project. I didn't hit my timer. So our mission, and is to help students understand the healthcare world and how to work successfully in it. And we prepare students both for clinical, mostly graduate level careers or non-clinical careers. Certainly many students graduate and don't get a great job without getting another degree. We are, however, not guided by an accreditation board because it's a kind of a unique type of major. So we work as faculty to develop what we want to accomplish in this major. So we have 9 program level learning outcomes, student learning outcomes. And we did a retreat in February of 2020 I had just started in this role in fall of 2019. So I say, hey, let's get together, talk about what we're teaching, and how we know we're teaching it. Oh, that's assessment. And we did a great job at this retreat. And then you all know what happened in March of 2020. So our energies got split. But at that retreat, we looked at our outcomes, and then we put it into buckets of types of learning, knowledge and understanding, applied understanding, and professional behavior. So what I wanted to do with this grant was decide, what are we really doing to assess our the learning outcomes in our courses? Okay. Okay. So what I submitted was this item number 2 for the funding out of a longer project. So we had done the curriculum map, or updated it. It had been done previously by faculty. We updated it in February of 2020 at a faculty retreat. Then I wanted to see how we actually are assessing our learning objectives. And I'm using outcomes and objectives interchangeably right now. Another goal related to assessment was related to our general education courses and incorporating that data. And that's an ongoing process. We also want to incorporate assessment data from all of our courses into program review. Back in February 2020, we thought we were up for academic program review. At this point, it's been delayed a little bit. And then sharing the outcomes of this project with our faculty, which has happened, and then incorporating this into an ongoing process improvement. So the project itself, and I have a video about this that answers some different questions than what I'm presenting here. But I was able to hire a student for, I think, 56 hours, a graduate student who was trained in education, was on her way to being a teacher. So she was not part of our major, but she talks learning assessment more than we do in our major. And she went through all the syllabi to see where are the assessment activities, a really basic activity. But I needed it as a baseline to see where we were.
Janet, I think you muted yourself accidentally.
I sure did. Thank you
You're back.
for letting me know. So this is a snapshot of what we did at our retreat in February 2020 with the faculty. And I've just highlighted a couple of the cells in this table, where we went through our 9 objectives, student learning objectives. We identified in what course is this outcome introduced, reinforced, or emphasized. And we also added when they're assessed, but I didn't add this to what I expanded for you. So this demonstrates knowledge of the structure and function of U.S. healthcare delivery systems across the continuum, is both introduced and emphasized in our health systems class. It's reinforced in legal issues, it's reinforced in health policy, and reinforced in healthcare management. So we've got that one covered. They better understand U.S. health delivery systems across the continuum. I hope so. And then another one I highlighted here is improvement, measures and plans improvement in healthcare quality. So we introduce that in core competencies, we emphasize it in our legal issues class, and we reinforce it in our healthcare management. So this is kind of our logic model of what is the process that we put in place to measure outcomes. And that's what we built off of. That's what we should be building off of for all our course offerings. So in order to get the baseline, I hired our graduate student, Maggie, and she worked pretty much the month of May, pretty intensely. I sent her at least 3 syllabi for each course from different faculty. She dug through them, and I'm going to share that I wasn't thrilled with the results. I was hoping I would have seen more as assessment details linked to our learning objectives, but clearly, historically, we have not set up our syllabi that way in our department or in our program, and we have a long way to go to improve this process. So here I'm highlighting, this is her intro that she wrote. She finds she was able to determine there were some connections just because it made sense to her, even though it wasn't explicitly stated. So if the objectives were at the top of the syllabus and she saw this reading was really about that one objective, she could tell they were connected. Others would, it was also hard to tell because many assignments covered many objectives. We didn't always see what, we might see a topic in the syllabus, but the actual assignment was not really well described in the syllabus. And she actually highlighted some quality syllabi. So I'm going to show some of those highlights to you. Keep in mind, and many of you are instructors or faculty, there are other materials in addition to a syllabus. And since we use e-learning so much, a lot of this is in our e-learning content. But we started at the syllabus. And frankly, I would like to have one clear roadmap for a course. And if I'm able to influence our instructors, I hope we can keep improving. So it's very clear what assessment activities, learning assessment activities are related to the course objectives.
I think you're muted again, Janet. Must be when you change slides.
Yeah, yeah, so sorry. So here's an example, a couple examples of positive comments that Maggie found in our syllabi, where in our lifespan development course, HSB 2250, the instructor made it very clear that how the course will meet their objectives. She identified the learning assessment activities, but it wasn't a one-for-one correlation in the syllabus. And then another one in our health literacy course, Maggie could tell by the descriptions of the assignments, all assignments other than module discussions had very clear summaries in the syllabus. So that was very clear. So what I found was we had examples of what could be done, what should be done, and I would like to try to implement a process that we can influence all faculty to get it there. I am not an administrator, and but we have met as a faculty and we agreed, we need to be able to do these consistencies. So I'm trying to figure out the best ways to influence this for the future. I don't know why that happens. Okay, you can hear me now. So this is again baseline for the future. I want to continue to emphasize clarity in linking learning assessment activities with learning outcomes. I want it to be clear to our students so they know why they're taking the course, not only why they're taking the course, but why they're doing this assignment. It's not busy work. There's a reason for it. There's some knowledge or application that we want them to learn, and I want that to be very clear to the students. And then I want to continue to, once we get to that, go back and say, let's look at the assessment you all did about this learning. Is it working? Are we teaching our students enough? Have we reached a level of competency in our students so we can continue to improve our program? So I've added my email. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to email you. But at this point, I guess we're going to take questions at the end of the session. So I appreciate this opportunity. It kind of kick-started a process, and I need another kickstart, I will admit. Okay.
Thank you, Janet. I think that sounds great. I'm glad that you're excited about applying for another grant. I hope that works out in the 2023 if you wanted to do that. Thank you for sharing about your project too. I love seeing what you I know that you had a really large overall plan, and so with this mini grant, you couldn't address everything, but I think it's great, first of all, that you have the curriculum map, because not everyone's doing that in their areas, which I think is a great thing to do, to be able to see where are you actually supporting the learning that you want students to take away from each course, and that can show you those gaps. If you're not seeing, we're just introducing it everywhere, but we're not actually reinforcing them. So I love that you're doing the curriculum maps, and I think that it's great too that you found, when you said you were a little disappointed in what you found, I think that's good, that you were able to see, oh yeah, this is what I think we should try to do better. I love that you're including information for students to know about what they're taking away from courses too. I don't know that that's always incorporated in the syllabus, and I think that's something that we could do better across the institution, because I think that's important for students to be able to know why they're taking the courses they are, what they're taking away from them, and then being able to share that later. These are skills or other things that I got, not just the knowledge from the coursework. So I'm excited about everything you're working on. I look forward to seeing how that continues as well. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
So our last recipient that we want to hear from is Megan Slayter. So thank you, Megan. Welcome, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to share.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Right.
Morning.
I'm clicking share. All right. Are you able to see? Lovely. So the mini grant project, this is my second mini grant, actually. This one is aligning dance student learning outcomes through curriculum mapping. So kind of a similar project to Janet. I'm really inspired, and we should have coffee or something and talk and nerd out on all things curriculum mapping, because that sounds delightful. So I was really excited to have an opportunity with the mini grant to make some space to dive into this work that we've been wanting to do for a little while. And the mini grant made it possible to pay for myself and my team lead to have some time in summer one, when faculty are not usually not on contract and not teaching, to dive in and do this work and lay this roadmap. So who am I? I'm a professor here in the dance department. I'm the acting associate director of what will soon be the School of Theater and Dance. I'm a member and past president of our University Assessment Steering Committee. I was a co-chair in writing Criterion 4 for our HLC reaffirmation of accreditation. That was the criterion on assessment and student learning. I have chaired our assessment committee here in dance for a long time, and chaired our curriculum committee and done that work. So I'm at home in this world. I was joined by Jeremy Blair, who is an assistant professor. It was exciting to bring him along into this wonderful world of assessment. And it really dovetailed nicely, because he and I are both on both assessment and our curriculum committee, which you'll see as an important component of this project. So what were we doing? We really wanted to review and update the SLOs for both the Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Fine Arts in Dance programs. So we offer 2 degrees here in the dance program. And we went through our NASD reaccreditation was in 2016. One of the responses from the site visitors and from the accreditation process was an encouragement to really look at and differentiate these 2 degrees, one from the other. So you may think that anyone studying dance wants to be a professional dancer, and that is very true, but it's also not. There's 100 ways to be a dancer, and only some of them are on the stage. And so our Bachelor of Arts program especially is what I call like my dance and program. So it's really designed for people that want to go into a wide variety of dance and related fields. So our most popular, and the BA in dance is where we have a lot of double majors. Our most popular double major is with dance and exercise science. You might not be surprised that dancers are interested in the human body and what it is capable of doing. So it might be a dance and, or it might be a dance then idea that they have to go into occupational therapy, physical therapy, OT, PT, those sorts of things as well. And what I was noticing as I was a department chair is that we kept losing majors. We kept having students who were double majors in dance, and especially dance and exercise science, get to about sophomore year and realize that that's an awful lot of credits to take. They're not going to graduate in 4 years, and it's going to cost more than they've budgeted for. And when it really came down to it, they dropped dance to a minor in order to continue with their other primary major. And I was losing anywhere from 10 to 15 majors a year who were making this decision from the BA to drop the BA to a dance minor. I don't need to, I'm sure, emphasize in this room the importance of enrollment, headcounts, and credit hour production in today's world of higher education. So there are definitely some impetus beyond just the fun of diving into assessment in doing this work. So we wanted to really take a look at these programs, differentiate them, align the SLOs with our accreditation standards so that the next time we went through a self-study, we could very clearly tick, 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 tick into what we are teaching and what our accreditation standards recommend that we do. And then we really wanted to create some curriculum maps for the BA and the BFA to see where these skills are. We've gone through some significant budget reductions. We lost a full-time faculty member and a full-time staff member here in dance, and lost our department chair and me going back to faculty. So we really needed to make sure that we were being efficient in the workload of our students and in the workload of our faculty, and to see if there were any things that we could streamline. And we used the curriculum maps very much to inform and support significant curricular changes that we've been working on for several years here in the department. So that was really exciting. Some of these changes, like to make it easier to double major with dance and exercise science, I've been wanting to do for almost a decade, back since I was our academic advisor. So it's lovely to see this work supported. All right, so quick overview with the Bachelor of Arts. Like I said, this is like a dance, and the primary purpose of this is to allow the students to individualize their dance program to support very specific career goals with a strong general understanding. So students graduating will have that general knowledge and then the ability to focus their studies in one or more areas of dance beyond that introductory level. But we're no longer going to dictate to them which area of dance they choose to do that in. It could be choreography, it could be arts management, it could be dance production, it could be history and critical theory and analysis, it could be preparing to open a dance studio and business. So we don't say you have to take all of these. We say, we're going to give you this general understanding, and then you're going to choose almost like a track. And then to really synthesize that knowledge and demonstrate it through an individualized senior capstone project. So our curriculum map for the BA in dance, oh, it's so pretty. We were able to, by mapping out these student learning outcomes and where they fell in different classes, we could clearly see where these skills emerge, where they're introduced, and those need to be required courses. And then you can see that there's a big chunk of classes where things are developed. And so that became an area that we could say, these are electives. So we say, okay, here's the requirement, but you're going to get to choose what you do in the middle here to develop that specific skill set. And then we're going to make sure that we are requiring then again where we demonstrate proficiency and when we're going to kind of cap that off. So within the required courses, you see all of these emerging skills, and then you see required are when we demonstrate proficiency that also includes an assessment opportunity. So we popped in here when we were going to assess how well our students are accomplishing these student learning outcomes. And that was so fun. Back to this. So that really, in the BA in dance, it let us look at and create a core group of required courses and an elective pathway. For the BFA is our pre-professional program. Students who are graduating with the BFA should be able to audition for a professional company and be accepted. They're showing that pre-professional level with an emphasis in performance, in choreography. These are students that want the act of dancing and creating dance as an art to be the primary focus of their career. So they need to be professional entry level. This is language straight out of our NASD accreditation standards. So we were able to pull a lot of language into these competencies and SLOs right out of that language. And so then our curriculum map for the BFA in dance. Again, we were able to show where skills emerge, are developing, and where students demonstrate proficiency in the skill, and identifying then where are our opportunities for assessment. One of the things that was really interesting about this work for us in the BFA is there's this brand new class down here, Dance 3600, the junior jury. For 20 years, we have required a junior jury in the BFA in dance, but it was not curricular. What it was is one of those just line requirements. In the junior year, the student shall choreograph and present a solo for advancement and retention in the program. And it was a lot of work. It's a lot of work of faculty mentorship. It's a public performance, so that's an event, all of this stuff. And we were in COVID. We were like, oh my God, do we need to still be doing this? And it was like this point in last year, and the faculty are fried, and we're like, we should just cut it. We should just be done with it. It shouldn't even, what does it really do? And we were able actually through this curriculum map to show that the junior jury meets 4 out of our 5 learning outcomes, 4 out of the 5 things that we think are really, really important for a BFA student to do. And so that changed our thinking, and it made us turn around and go, okay, this is important. And if it's important, then it needs to be in our curriculum. It needs to be recognized in the work that the students are doing and in the workload of the faculty. And so we made it a course. And it was able to give us strong justification for why that needed to be a course. We were able to also identify a few redundancies, be able to merge some course content and those sorts of things to streamline the curriculum a little bit. So what happened then? So we submitted curricular changes for the BA and BFA in dance this past fall. The purpose statements, SLOs, and curriculum maps were very much included as supporting documentation in that. Those changes were approved for the 2022-23 catalog, so students are already moving into that. Our current students, most of our current freshmen and sophomores are moving into the new catalog. They are choosing to do that. And all of our incoming first-year students will go into that catalog. It gave me very clear recruitment talking points and materials to help students and families choose WMU. I'm very it's very easy for me to talk to prospective students about these 2 degree programs, how they're different and how they support the students' goals in dance, and recognizing that there are multiple goals and multiple career options in dance. I was able to make updated recommended course sequences for students that I can give to our academic advisor for them to make really clear and efficient 4-year plans towards graduation. In the BA, that's incorporating second majors or minors. So that's really wonderful. I just found out this little tidbit yesterday. I was looking at our retention numbers. And you know how I said that for years I've been losing 10 to 15 students, BA students, dropping. They're retained to WMU, but not to my program as a head count. So last year we lost 10 students. This year we lost 1. So that is a 10% increase in my retention number. And that's something I can take right to the dean and say, look at the success that we're having. So this is an N of 1. This is 1 year only. But I really think that these changes are going to have a remarkable impact. So I think that was my last. So I will stop sharing. How do I stop sharing? Where did you go? There it is.
Wow. Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you to all of you. I love hearing about these projects. I think that's amazing, all the different things that you were able to see and to do and to get put in place that you've been wanting to do. It sounds like having those elective courses really made a big difference for students to be able to choose so that they had those different pathways they could take with that other degree. And I love that you found that piece you thought, well, we can't do this anymore, the junior jury. How much it was sharing with you as far as like the students' capabilities with the outcomes that you want them to have, and then making that a course. I'm just like blown away by all of these different projects that you all did with this small amount of time and this little bit that we're able to fund, which I wish was more. I just think that this hearing about this, I want everyone to hear about these projects that you've done, because I think the work that people do at Western is amazing. And when I'm able to actually sit down and just, see and hear from people, I just like, wow, I have some amazing colleagues. So, I saw that Katie made a comment in the chat about a tool for curriculum mapping that she was using. I don't know if those are the kinds of things I love for people to be able to share with each other about. In this space, we're able to collaborate. And thinking about the silo comment that Katie was talking about earlier, I just think we need more opportunities to be able to share with each other about some of these different things that we're doing, so that we can build off each other's successes and learn what others are doing and the tools that are being used. So I don't know if anyone who participated has any questions for the other grant recipients. I don't see that we have any questions in the chat, so anyone can jump in, and please feel free if you want to. I don't know if everyone's okay, but I just think you can unmute, and I'd be happy to have anyone ask questions. You can raise your hand if you want to, or you can just jump in. But I thank you all for sharing about these projects, and I'm excited to see what else you all do. So I don't know if Katie, you're willing to just share your email, or if anyone is interested in that curriculum mapping tool. I know there's a lot that you've been looking at as far as the gateways to completion. I'm assuming that might be part of that, because I think that's an important thing to be able to see where students are stopping out. Oh, I see Gwen. She's here too. Nice to see your face. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists?
I wonder if the panelists could talk just a little bit about getting buy-in from your colleagues, because everybody who's coming to this conference probably already has bought into assessment. My challenge as Director of Office of Faculty Development is to figure out how to get people who are outliers, who maybe aren't as interested in assessment, to start to see its value. So if any of you could offer up your advice to the group about how you have perhaps folded colleagues into your work or answered questions about it, that sort of thing?
Can I jump in? That is a really wonderful question. And a lot of times assessment seems to be this extra on top of, and faculty are already working so hard, and kind of the last thing they want to do is have to fill out another report. But I think that what I was able to do with my faculty or my colleagues now is really show the benefit that this work can have if you come out 20,000 feet a little bit and really look at the program, and to be able to emphasize that that's what the directors and chairs are looking at, and that's what the deans are looking at. And as we enter this RCM model, this work can help justify, I hate to say it, justify your existence. You know, why are we teaching? Why is it important that this class be taught? Why is it important that this class be taught by a tenure track faculty member and not a part-time person? How do we allocate resources? Being able to demonstrate student learning through your assessment, you're able to point in real numbers and cents, our program is successful and here's how we can prove it. And I wish that we weren't in an environment in higher education where that was so important, but I feel we should be doing it anyway because we love our students and we care about the learning that they're doing. And that's why so many of us are here at this conference. But we also know that it comes down to those dollars and cents. An assessment is a tool. It is a valuable tool, not only for the student learning, but for resources, for justifying very needed resources to continue to teach the programs that we need to teach.
Yeah, I struggle with this as well. I have a fair amount of influence over the part-time instructors, but a little less over the full-time instructors. Last week, though, I had a conversation with a full-time instructor, and she said, you know, I changed because after I did this project in May of 2021, I sent the report to all our faculty. And I said, it'd be really great if you would change your syllabus and line the objectives with assessment. And this one full-time faculty member really took that as an order, and she immediately changed her syllabi. But I'm quite sure that didn't happen with everyone. So the word I like to think of is influence. And there's a great book called The Influencer, I think it is. And you know, how do you influence someone? So that's the approach I'm trying to take. And then at some point I will align with the director of our school and say, you know, we need to do this for our students. This is not academic freedom. To have a good plan that's very clear to our students is not offending any academic freedom of an instructor. You know, it is a challenge, but we have to just keep, I like to focus on the students because if it's clear to them why they're there, hopefully they will learn more and they'll stick with the program. So.
Thank you for sharing that. That was a great question, Glenn. And I think that's something that we're always striving for too, as part of the assessment steering committee, and thinking about how do we share with people what the great things you can find out and do with assessment data. And I love too the part where Megan was sharing as far as like talking points with parents and students that are potential attendees of Western. Makes it easy for you to see this is what you're going to get out of it, and these are some of the results that we've had from what we're trying to share with students who are part of this program. So I think that can be that resource and support in any area of the institution, whether it's co-curricular or curricular. So I hope that you continue all to be cheerleaders and to try and influence. And I made a note of that book. I think that's something that would be great to read, to learn about how, you know, we can influence our peers and colleagues. And I guess with the success stories that you've had with the work that you're doing, that speaks for itself. So you're able to share, hey, this is what I was able to find out about what my students are doing, and this is what I did about it. And it could be good because we're going to continue to do that because everyone's getting it, or we found out that they're not. So these are things we've changed so that they would. So thank you. Any other questions that anyone has for our panelists? We have a few more minutes. So. No, okay. I think we kind of talked about, I asked the panelists to think about a few extra questions, so I don't know if anyone wants to share. Do you have a favorite story about how assessment helped you to improve student learning or operational outcomes for your program? So I don't know if anyone wants to jump in and answer that in our last few minutes.
Honestly, I think this project is going to be my favorite story.
Okay. Well, there was a lot of different great chapters out of it, even from that short time frame. And I know it continues to be something that you've been doing and that you were building upon already efforts that you had. But there are a lot of great chapters, like I said, from this story. So I could see why. Well, we just have 2 minutes left, so I can let you go a few minutes early and grab some lunch, and hopefully you'll come back. We have some other great sessions at 12:15, and then we have an awesome keynote and a makers lab from the WX instructional designers later. So I'm really excited about the afternoon. Hope you all come back.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you all panelists. Thank you so much.